Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Rabu Sorry. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Jayo Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe Jayo Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jayo Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Mai Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Shtotra Sahasrimad His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Guru Vrinda Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, all devotees. Thank you for joining me in today's evening class. Today, the topic we are continuing from last week's theme. So the theme for the next few weeks are going to remain as the devotee care program that we are planning to establish here in the Sydney Yatra. And as Nityananda Pran Prabhu explained last week, it's a very, very important, critical element. So I'm continuing on the theme that Nityananda Prabhu started last week. There's one particular verse from Srimad Bhagavad Gita that I want to, read out because this verse is actually Prabhupada shares that this verse acted as an inspiration or catalyst for him to satisfy his spiritual master. He derived so much inspiration from this verse. Like Nityananda Prabhu, shared last week's class, the devotees, who come to Krishna consciousness, they come and they do devotion on a voluntary basis. Even Krishna doesn't force anybody to do devotional service. It is purely voluntarily, and by your own interest, people come and take into Krishna consciousness. So the inspiration, as Prabhu said last week, is the basis of our spiritual life. Whatever we do, it should be based on inspiration. And as I heard that class, then this sloka became very relevant, because this sloka is the inspiration behind what Srila Prabhupada did. So that it is in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, called Contents of Gita Summarized, and it's a 41st verse. The verse goes as this: Vyavasayatmika buddhir yeke kurunandana bahusaka hi anantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. Translation: those who are on this path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. So I'll read the purport quickly, because the beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada. Purport: a strong faith that by Krishna conscious one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called Vyavasayatmika intelligence. The Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Kanta 22.62 states, Shraddha sabde vishwasa kahe Sudrida Nishchaya. Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Haya. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he did not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family, traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or past deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need not no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all his activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabhaha. A person in Krishna consciousness is the rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva or Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches. So by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Service in Krishna consciousness, however, is best practiced under the able guidance of spiritual master, who is bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student and who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna, and one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura instructs us in his famous prayer for the spiritual master as follows: Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado yasya prasada na gati kutopi dhyayan suvamstasya yasya stri sandhyam vande gurum shri charanaravindam. By the satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day and offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spiritual master. The whole, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of body, not theoretically but practically, when there is no longer chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities. One who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. So a very, very wonderful verse, and a very, very critical and important verse for us. So what is the relationship of this verse to the devotee care program that we are going to do? As you all heard, devotee care program is about nourishing the devotees, encouraging them, inspiring them, and taking care of them, right? And as it was explained in the previous week's class, when somebody is taken care of, they follow the process. So it is critical that we take care of the devotees. To share an example, there was this one brahmachari, in Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati time. Those days, East Bengal or Bangladesh was part of India. So they were opening a new mutt or Gaudiya mutt in East Bengal. And this brahmachari, he worked hard many, many days, day and night, fixing things and everything. But later he fell down from his position, and then the others, condemned him, saying, "What did you do? What you did was wrong." And then he became very disheartened and he left the place. And then later, when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came there and he asked for this particular brahmachari, and when he heard what had happened, he said, "I'm not going to open this temple until you find this disciple of mine and bring him back to me." And he said that we shed gallons and gallons of blood to make one devotee. So it is very essential that we don't criticize or unnecessarily harshly talk and then make them leave Krishna conscious. There may be some short givings which we should help them overcome, but we should never condemn them, and we should take care of them. And by taking care of them, naturally they would love to follow. So the relationship these two verse, there are two ideas here that are very critical. The first idea the Srila Prabhupada talks about is surrendering to a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Krishna. And the most important point he mentions here is that he understands the nature of the person and guides him accordingly. So this is very, very critical in Krishna consciousness, because we all come from a diverse background. We all have diverse situations in life, different issues, different problems, different challenges, different strengths. There are some very good positive, and there are some negatives, and there are some challenges, and there are some opportunities. And this vary from person to person. Even within a family, the husband may face a different challenge, and the wife may face a different challenge. The husband may have different strengths, and the wife may have different strengths. And then their children can have different, circumstances altogether. So, in devotee care program, what we are trying to do is to implement this, this level of individual care, right? As Prabhupada mentions, anybody who tries to guide or help others, it's not guiding, it's more helping others. Why we help others? It's not that the mentor is sitting 10 feet above the ground and we are going to sit down. The relationship and mentor and mentee is more of a spiritual friendship. The Shastras describe how even the relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple, which is very formal in the material world, when the disciple goes to the spiritual world, it turns into one of mutual friendship. There is a very close bond between the spiritual master and the disciple here and in the spiritual world. So this element of friendship and understanding one's nature, one's strengths, one's weakness is very, very critical. And individually, we need to tailor make our program, right? In terms of philosophy, in terms of what we practice, it's common across everybody. We want everybody to chant 16 rounds. We want everybody to follow the 4 regulative principles. We want everybody to be strong in their devotional service. We want everybody to become preachers. We want everybody to become, service oriented. These are all something that is common. But then how we are going to inspire somebody to come to that level is going to vary from person to person. Because somebody, as I said, someone may be, very much interested in chanting. I've seen devotees who picked up 16 rounds of chanting on day one. They came, they asked, but then the same devotee also I've seen that he struggles to read, Srila Prabhupada books. It took a few years for him to finish Bhagavad Gita, and then later on to Bhagavatam. And we have seen the other side, right? We see people who are very good in reading. They'll read a lot of books. They will hear a lot of philosophy. But when it comes to practical application, they will struggle. If you ask them, they will still be stuck at 1 round or 2 rounds, and they will struggle to go high. There's nothing wrong. I'm not condemning them, but I'm just saying. But if you ask them philosophy, they would have read the whole Bhagavad Gita, they would have read the Science of Self-Realization, all the small books, Prabhupada, all the books they would have read, and they will have a huge knowledge. But when it practically applying, they'll be struggling, right? And then the other side also, people may be chanting 16 rounds, they are very sincere, in their, they'll do a lot of service, but when it comes to reading or understanding philosophy, they will struggle. And then you will see other kind of people also. They'll chant 16 rounds, they will read every day, but then they're not interested in doing service. And then the other way also, we see people who will do service from morning to night, but they are not interested in anything. They are, you come, probably you ask me to do service whole day, I'm ready to do. They want to be active, they want to come, help in the kitchen service, cleaning, cooking, distribute, doing so many things. But when it comes to chanting 16 rounds or reading books, they may not excel at it. So everybody has some strength, and somebody may excel in all of this. Very nice. So each individual has a particular challenge, and each individual has a particular strength. So the devotee care program, the aim of the devotee care program is to individually look at each one and try to help them advance in devotional service, right? For example, if somebody is struggling in chanting their rounds, the mentor has to look into understanding, not just saying, well, you are not chanting 16 rounds, it's in offense, Prabhupada set the standard, if you're not chanting 16 rounds, no. But then to really look into that situation, listen, understand their background, understand the challenge that the other person is facing. It could be external, it could be internal, right? And then analyze the situation and give the best solution, right? And that is the hallmark of mentorship. It is individual care. The individual care is the most important part in devotee care program. We are doing it to a certain extent. It's not just an asana yatra. We are not doing devotee care. As Gancham Prabhu and Nityananda Prabhu talked, the devotee care program is inherent in some systems, like Bhakti Vrisha system has the devotee care inherent in it. But the individual care is very important, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also makes a very important point in this regard. In one place he says that when you give a class, right, when you do a preaching program, he says it is more like it gives only a token effect, or a token what you call remediation. This is the word Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur uses. What he means by that is like, if you have a pain, let's say, I have a headache, or, I'm having, ear pain, right? If I have a ear pain, I go to the doctor, he may give me some general medicine, or I can go to the shop or a chemist shop and I can pick a painkiller, right? This will give me a token remediation. It may, the pain killer may reduce the ear in my pain for a certain period of time, but I have not really resolved the problem. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, giving a class for a mass people, like, you sit and then 30 people, 40 people are sitting, in the class that we are having right now. This is more like a token effect, he says, because it's not individualized, right? At best, it can give token remediation, right? So if you really want to solve your ear problem, you need to, the GP, or, you go to a doctor. Even a GP will say, general practitioner will, send you to a doctor who specializes in ear. Nose, ENT specialist, right? That's what we call in India, ear, nose and throat specialist. So you go to them and they check you, and then they, give specifically, they understand what the problem is, and then they give a medicine for it, and then it, the problem is solved. So preaching, is not about just giving class, right? Yes, it is good that, we know the Shastras and we share the Shastra with others, but more important element of preaching is actually helping that other person implement what we are preaching, right? Understanding the challenges. There could be two kinds of challenges. One is philosophical understanding itself, they may struggle, and then practical application of it, also they may struggle. So the real preaching should involve helping somebody. It's not that, I learned something for 10 years. I've been coming to ISKCON for 10 years and I've learned so many things. So I go to a group of new people and then, I'm asked to give a class, and the rest in 1 hour or 10 minutes or 1 hour, I download whatever I have heard in 10 years, what I've learned. I download it in, 1 hour, to a group of people. It is not going to work. Right? So preaching should involve mentoring, understanding the individual needs of the particular person, and individual challenges, opportunities, strengths, and tailoring the preaching. The concept is same. It's not that we are going to teach something different. We are going to teach the same thing. You are not the body or the soul. you Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and we are part and parcels of the Lord, and our constitutional position is to serve the Lord. So this is our basic philosophy, right? We are not, this is what we are going to preach. Then, we preach it in such a way that they can assimilate it and apply it in their life. Like Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, the last paragraph, Prabhupada says, the whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body, not theoretically but practically. Right? This is the most important part of the verse. So it is very important in devotee care program to understand the individual needs, individual challenges, and tailor the preaching in such a way and help that individual person apply it in their life. Right? So this is one part of the equation. It doesn't start, it doesn't stop there, because any relationship has two sides, right? One is the mentor in devotee care, the other side is the mentee. So one other point that I want to bring in this class is, we have been talking about the role of a mentor so far, how the mentor has to be very careful listener. He should be very sensitive. He should understand the individual needs, the strengths, the opportunities, the challenges, and the issues with an individual. At the same time, and then tailor made the preaching for that person and help him overcome his issues and advance in Krishna consciousness. But there is also a responsibility on the mentee side, that also Srila Prabhupada writes here. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna, and one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission's life. So, in the devotee care program, the idea of the mentor is because we all either we have a spiritual master or we are aspiring to have a spiritual master, because as the devotee care program is tailored for everybody, from a person who enters and into all the way until he achieves perfection. So it is carried throughout the life. That is the role of the mentorship program, as I explained in last week's class. So the mentee also has a relationship, in the sense that the mentor, the role of the mentor, as I said, is to see how to help this particular individual, the mentee, best surrender to a spiritual master and follow the instruction of the spiritual master given, and help him do that on a day-to-day basis. Because the spiritual master is completely spiritual, right? That's why we call him spiritual master. He is on that platform and he gives us instructions. And then the role of the mentor is not to, is not equal to or anything, about the spiritual master. He's not even equal to spiritual master, but he's a servant of both the spiritual master and the mentee, in the sense that he helps the mentee implement the instructions of the spiritual master in his life, right? That is the role of the mentor. But there is also an other side of the equation, is the mentee itself, right? So the mentee has to have this very clear idea, and that relationship with the mentor has to be very good. The mentor, as I said, has to act on a very clear platform. He has to understand. He needs to have a very good relationship with the person, so that he can understand him. Similarly, the mentee also needs to maintain a very good relationship with the mentor, right? Because if we do not have, if we are not going to follow the instructions, then all the effort the mentor is going to put is waste, right? So one of the requests that we all, or the most important critical element of the in the devotee care system is to, we always say that mentor can do the job of mentorship, or he can care for a devotee only if there is a strong relationship. And any relationship involves two persons, one, and both of them has to reciprocate with each other. So the role of the mentor is already explained. The role of the mentee is also very critical. He needs to understand his side of the equation in the relationship, and we need to understand, as each one of us is a mentee. It's not, it's not that somebody is a mentor. Everybody is a mentee, and everybody will have a mentor, and it connects and goes to all the way to the spiritual master, and then all the way to Srila Prabhupada, and then all the way to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So Everyone has a mentee. That's the how we want to implement this devotee care program. And the mentee also needs to understand his relationship in the mentor, and he needs to keep his side of the bargain. That is very critical. It is because if you think about it, all of us are struggling, but somebody is willing to give his time, energy, intelligence, everything to help us overcome our devotional problems and advance in Krishna consciousness. So why I read this Vyavasatmika Buddhi is, we also need to, as a mentees, we also, each one of us, have to have this commitment towards the mentor, that you are going to help me and I'm going to accept your help. Right? That is very, very important, because as I said, devotee care, devotional service itself is a voluntary. So when somebody tries to help us, the mentee needs to be in a very clear state of mind, and he needs to have the right mindset. Otherwise, this whole process will not work. The mentor has to be very matured. He has to understand the individual. He should be capable of judging and understanding the individual needs. At the same time, the mentee also should need to have this idea that have this trust. It's not created on day one. It's created based on a relationship. Over a period of time, it's developed. But once that relationship is created, the mentee should be very clear what is expected out of him. He should be very clear about accepting the instructions and following the instructions. Right? Why am I emphasizing on accepting and following the instruction? We all know this, Prabhu. We all know it. Why are you repeating it again and again? Because this is the most difficult thing to follow in Kali Yuga. Right? If you see previous yugas, it's not that they did not have ego, but in Kali Yuga, it is all about, the whole standard is false ego, about being independent, doing what we want. So by nature, we have grown up in an environment where we don't want to listen to others. We don't want to, it's very difficult for the mind. I'm not telling it for anybody. I can, at least share from my experience. So, I used to always have this issue. Who is he to say, right? But then over a period of time, I started understanding that my mentor, whatever he's saying, he's trying to do it for my own good. So the mentee needs to have this kind of commitment in this relationship, where when he gets an instruction, straight out rejecting it, or rejecting it from a material judgment point of view, he needs to have this, at least this level of commitment in the relationship, where whenever an instruction is given, he or she needs to analyze it from a spiritual angle, see the spiritual reason what the mentor is saying, and then analyze it and try to apply it. Right? Because many things are not, not all the things are going to be palatable in this relationship. Right? Why it is not going to be palatable? Because we have problems. Right? And because we have problems, it is also going to be one of the expectations of the mentor to point out our mistakes so that we can overcome them. That is also one of the roles of the mentors. So when a mentor, typically, for example, the most difficult situation arises is when a mentor gives an instruction or points out an issue with us, and he wants us to correct. It is very difficult for us to assimilate. Right? I am again talking from my own experience. I always used to be a very strong-headed fellow. I used to do what I want to do. I'm not saying that I've changed a lot, but then over a period of time, because of the patience, the tolerance, and the extraordinary mercy of my mentor and my spiritual master, over a period of time, I was able to understand that, okay, I will not straight out reject, because that's the mind's nature, right? The mind's, the job, it has only two functions, either accepting or rejecting. It accepts what it likes and rejects what it doesn't like. So when we get an instruction, what would happen is that in this relationship is, the moment we get an instruction, the mind tends to reject it. And not only it will reject it, it will also give reasons to reject it. Like, for example, right, when my mentor used to say, you're doing this mistake, immediately my mind will start telling, oh, he's saying this because of this. Right? It's only over a period of time I started, saying, why is he saying this? Right? objectively to look at it and see whether what he is saying is really true or not. Do I really have this problem or not? If we are not willing to do this introspection, or at least give a chance, this relationship will not be a working relationship, right? So devotee care has two aspects. Prabhupada talks about two aspects of devotee care. Prabhupada gives the example of shaping, a pot, a metal pot. Prabhupada gives this example that traditionally in India, if you go and see how the brass or pots are made, when they work on the metal, because it has to be shaped in a very different shape. So they need to beat it, right? So when they beat it, they need to beat it to shape it into a particular shape so that it can be useful in life. But then if they keep beating it, what happens is that is the metal will break, right? So what they do is that is they give their support on the back, and on the top they beat, right? So the beating Prabhupada gives is like the instructions that we receive, right? That beating is to shape our mind. It is going to be unpleasant, and then it is going to be difficult, and it is going to be challenging, particularly in Kali Yuga, right? It is going to be very difficult, to take suggestions from others and implement, right? In Kali Yuga, we all like to talk about the others' faults, but it is very difficult for us to accept our faults. It is very easy to give advice, but it is very difficult to accept advice. This is true for me as well. So these are all the problems. So that is why, what happens is that is if there is only instruction, because those days, if you see in Vedic culture, there is no question of devotee care. The people were so strong mentally that when an instruction was given, they will follow it. Right? There is no question of taking the taking care is part. The instruction itself will take care. Like the spiritual master, we see in Mahabharata. If you read the first few chapters of Mahabharata, that talks about a spiritual master, who he will send the very young boys, to take care of his cows, and he will say, you can't eat anything. This guy doesn't eat, and then he becomes very hungry. Then he eats a tree leaf, and he loses his eyesight, and those things happen. You see that how difficult those instructions are. But in Kali Yuga, that will not work. You can't go and tell somebody you cannot eat for 4 days, 5 days. They will, then it becomes an abuse. Right, today we were hearing about different abuses, so this becomes a physical abuse. So the spiritual master also, the hard process of just beating will not work, because people will break, because that's the circumstances we are living in. So that's why this devotee care program acts as a, so that when instructions are given, the devotees who gets the instruction, the mentees, they have enough support and strength to overcome their problems and implement it and shape their mind and become very useful in the service of the Lord. Like a golden pot. A golden pot is used in the service of Abhishekam of the Radha and Krishna. So similarly, we want to become like that golden pot, wherein we will become an excellent in the service of the Lord. And in that, what is going to happen is we are going to get instructions. We are going to get difficult things to do. In Kali Yuga, even to chant 16 rounds and following 4 regulative principles is so difficult, leave alone following instructions about one's different things, but to even implement this basic thing of chanting 16 rounds, because in Prabhupada's time it was 64 rounds, right? But today we know that people can't do 64 rounds. It is very difficult for anybody to do 64 rounds. And then the expectation, as Srila Prabhupada said, is only 16 rounds. But even 16 rounds, we struggle a lot. It is a big struggle to do 16 rounds, because that's the world we are living in, right? We can't even wear a tilak and go outside. People will think it's very rude. But if you take even a few 100 years back, 100 years back, if somebody comes out of his house, without any kind of markings on his forehead, any kind of tilak or, markings on his forehead in Vedic culture in India, he was considered crazy, right? People thought it is inauspicious to look at somebody without any markings in their forehead, either a tilak, Vaishnava tilak, or at least, the saivite, what they apply, on their forehead, or, the women has to wear, the vermilion or the, bindi, something has to be on the forehead. But today, if you wear it and go outside, you are considered crazy. So the world has completely changed, right? So the implementation of what we want to do is very difficult. So my spiritual master, he tells this, he used to, even in the 90s and early 2000, devotees used to ask this question, tilak is very important, but in my office, it is not perceived nicely, what should I do? And then my spiritual master told everybody, you know in your house wear the normal tilak, but when you go outside, you can wear a water tilak. What it means is you can chant the mantra, apply the tilak all over your body and go. And these devotees, some of these devotees were living in countries where there was a restriction on other religions, right? There has to be a practical experience, practical way to apply. You can't just wear tilak and say I am Krishna's devotee, Krishna will protect me, and then go into a country where the whole ISKCON religion is not allowed. That is asking for trouble. So there has to be an intelligent application. So what I'm trying to say is that so these basic principle itself has become very challenging in Kali Yuga to apply. So the devotee care program is to act as that support, like because we're going to get a lot of instructions. There are going to be a lot of things that we need to do to achieve perfection in spiritual life. And if we don't have the strength, if we don't have a position to fall back in, if we don't have that enough support and someone to guide us day to day on the practical applications of Krishna consciousness, it is actually really, really challenging. So the aim of the devotee care is to do that, is to help devotees achieve and apply. And the relationship has to be twofold. One side, the mentor has to be very conscious of the fact he needs to be, he can't be in his own sphere. He needs to have a broader vision, and the mentee also needs to understand, that what we need to understand is the mentor also is in the same situation as him. He is also facing the same Kali Yuga challenges, and he is also facing the same issues, and in spite of that, he is ready to help us, me, in advancing in my Krishna consciousness. So this thought process has to be there. Why this thought process is important? Because when this thought process is there, when an instructions or something comes, we don't straight out judge it based on our material character, because each of us have a particular character based on the three modes of material nature we have acquired. Either we could be in Rajogun, we could be in Tamogun, we could be in Sattvagun, we could be in the combination of any guns. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that even during days, a person will go through different modes. When you wake up in the morning, after taking bath, you're fresh, you're in Sattva Gun. When you go into a work environment and you're running around, and then it's a Rajogun. When you come home, you're tired and you're irritated, and you don't want to talk to anybody. It's a very hard day. You're in Tamogun, right? So one person itself can go through these three gunas. So what I'm trying to say is that if we don't have this concept very firmly in our mind as to the idea of this relationship, what would happen is that we will judge the other person. It's not only the mentor judging the mentee also should not judge the mentor based on what platform he is in, right? So when he has this firm idea that the idea of this relationship, the mentor is to help me in Krishna consciousness. So at least I'm not saying we have to accept all the instruction that come from the mentor, but my point is that the mentee also has the responsibility to analyze this instruction or an advice or a friendly suggestion that comes from the mentor. He needs to look in an objective shastric lens, and not through the lens of material judgment of his own character or his own three modes of material nature, because that's a success for failure. Sorry, that's a what you call as a way for failure. It's not going to help us succeed in this particular relationship. So the point that I want to emphasize is to both the mentor and the mentee needs to understand their roles very clearly in this relationship. In devotee care program, they need to understand the idea behind the devotee care program, They need to understand the objective of the program, and the mentor has to be very conscious. He has to be matured, steady. These are all some of the things that we are working from the mentorship committee to implement. At the same time, the mentee also has certain responsibilities, and he cannot use the mentor as to dump all his problems. Definitely, we do welcome. The whole idea is to help us overcome our problems, but in a very objective way, right? Not on any other level, but more on objective way. This is the issue. So when we open up our heart, we should also be ready to accept instructions, accept suggestions, accept ideas, and at least give a try. Right? We need to be open. I may not accept it wholeheartedly, but at least I'll give a sincere effort or a sincere try, because this devotee is putting his time and energy into this relationship, right? So that is the mood that we want the mentee to have, and that is the mood the mentor should have also. Is the mentee, in spite of all these troubles in Kali Yuga, he's a rare soul. Vasudevam idi Vasudevam Sarvam Idi Sa Mahatma Sudurlubaha. Krishna, Prabhupada says, one person who has accepted Krishna and is ready to even take a step in Krishna consciousness, he's a very, very rare soul, right? So the mentor also needs to understand the value of the other person. It is not an easy task in Kali Yuga for somebody to get attracted to Krishna. So you need to be very, very careful and handle and help the other person very nicely. And the mentee also should understand that a genuine good well-wisher is very, very rare in this material world. Right? If you see Srila Prabhupada's letters to his disciples, he will always write, "You are ever well-wisher," right? Because Srila Prabhupada is truly our well-wisher, right? So as mentees, we need to understand other devotees, and the senior devotees, the mentors, our spiritual masters, they are our real well-wishers. They are here to help us. They are here to help us overcome our problems, and they are here to help us advance in our devotional service. So we need to have this mood, this understanding that it is very rare, even after coming to Krishna consciousness, to get someone who will guide us on a day-to-day basis, it is not an easy thing to get a matured mentor like that. So when Krishna is providing such an opportunity, the mentee also should value it, and the mentor should also value it. Right? So devotee care program is not only the leaders taking care of the devotees, it is also the devotees taking care of the leaders. Just because somebody is a leader, that doesn't mean he's sitting like 10 feet high. He also needs the care and the love and everything. It is just that he is going to provide it in a different way to the mentee, and the mentee is going to take care of the mentor in a different way. Right? I can tell you truly from my heart, that when I do my Bhakti Vriksha programs, until today, I can give this in writing to every one of you, that every time I take a Bhakti Vriksha program, it is the same topic. It could be a very simple topic, that you're not the body or the soul. As you all know, Bhakti Vriksha is an interactive program. We don't make it as a class. We actually expect everyone to share their ideas. That's how we run a Bhakti Vriksha program. And I can very sincerely, I can tell you that in every class that I've taken in my last 15 years, the same one single topic to more than like 50, 60 groups, I can very, very clearly tell you, each time I have understood this concept from an entirely new angle, and I have learned something new. So the preaching or mentoring, it's not that the leader is going to take care of somebody. It is also the leader also gains, a care from when we care for others, we will be cared for. That's the concept of devotee care program. So, the mentor also needs to understand that, and the mentee also needs to understand that. So it's a reciprocal relationship, and there is an onus, and there is responsibility on the side of both the mentor and the mentees. And if both of us, both of these two people, the mentor and the mentee, understand this and work on this platform, then this devotee care program will be a huge success. So the request that we have from our side is for you to take this initiative seriously, understand the purpose behind it, and try to implement it in your life, and try to help others implement in their life. So that is the ask that we have, and from this devotee care program. So it's not something that we are rolling out from the temple and it's going to make the whole world happy. The whole success of this program depends on how each one of us assimilates this particular topic into our heart and into our life. So that is where the success of this whole program remains. So with that, I'll finish my class. The time is at 8:30. So I think the class time is to end at 8:30. That is my understanding. So thank you all for viewing. Thank you for your excellent association. I hope and pray to Radha Gopinath that this devotee care program becomes a grand success and that we take care of all the devotees and make much more devotees. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. ISKCON Sydney Yatra ki jai, ISKCON Sydney Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.